One of my favorite actors and directors, Josh Rubin, is back with his latest project where, in fact, this time, we're going to be celebrating love. I mean, maybe, or I guess. Oh, there's so much to talk about with this one. I'm super excited to jump into it. So let's get it going right now with my review of the new film, Hard Eyes. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Hard Eyes, coming to theaters February 7th, just in time for Valentine's Day. And what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than going to the movies with your loved ones when there is a slasher on the loose that is what I would equate is very synonymous with the Grinch, where the Grinch doesn't like Christmas. Where this one, the HBK, the HEK, Heart Eyes Killer. HBK kind of works too, honestly. But no, if you're in love, if you're in a relationship, he's coming after you. And I thought the premise itself was just completely hilarious in its own. But honestly, I didn't look at any trailers. I saw my guy Josh's name attached to it, and I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me because he just doesn't disappoint. Whether he's acting, whether he's directing, time and time again, he continues to prove himself as must-watch when it comes down to movies and television at that. But yeah, in this one, it is about co-workers working late on Valentine's Day. And they are mistaken for a couple by the infamous Heart Eye Killers because now the couples must spend their romantic night of the year running for their lives. So that's what the premise says. But in my words, as I mentioned, he is terrorizing from city to city couples who are in love. If you are a couple, even if you're posing as a couple, he's after you. So again, very entertaining premise, but what I did not expect was the comedy to follow because like with slashers, like you've seen one, you almost seen them all. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely been ones that have really stepped outside the box in their creativity and just standing out being unique. So like when you talk about a slasher, you're kind of like, well, what are you going to do different here? Is it going to be the kills, the gore, whatever it's going to be, the premise, but mostly follows the same tropes. But when you start talking about a comedy of a slasher, I mean, I feel like this is a subgenre that is still very much untapped. Yeah, you could think of some of the most iconic ones like Scary Movie. You can even go as far as Happy Death Day. But like, I still think there's a lot of room in this subgenre of horror comedy. So considering that Josh does comedy very well, he also just does pure horror and gore very well. It's a match made in heaven for him as a director here. And then with his cast, Olivia Holt, who's Allie, and then Mason Gooding as Jay, who are the co-workers here and whatnot. These two folks who I'm not fully familiar with, they bring so much to their role, and I think I think there's without a doubt a reputation of Josh being able to use actors that you may not be fully aware of, who still may be very new in their career, and put them in roles and positions for them to thrive. And I thought that Mason and Olivia was a treat to watch. Scene after scene, you just continue to find yourself just laughing at them, but also sort of rooting for their love. And I'll also go as far as saying like Mason, he's no stranger to this genre with him having being a part of the Scream franchise. So I'm sure this was such a joy for him to be a part of. But like him and Olivia, they really work very, very well together. Endless moments of laughs. But then you start going down the list of some other names. Now Devon Sawa, who's Detective Hobbs, and this one's just completely hilarious to me. Jordana Brewster as Detective Shaw. You heard me right. Hobbs and Shaw, which Jordana from the Fast and Furious franchise, who even makes a joke in saying she's never seen the Hobbs and Shaw movie when it's referred to. Hilarious. So there was just so much humor within the dialogue, even subtle moments where if you're laughing too long, you may miss something. I thought the gore, the brutality was fun, creative. I would even go as far as saying that there is one particular kill in the hippie van that could be talked about when it comes down to the Chainsaw Wars. I thought it was very good. I thought the third act, in fact, across the board, had very good kills. But where I did find problems with this was I thought that the film didn't stay true to itself the entire time. Because, and although, don't get me wrong, it's very much explained in the film that the killer goes after couples, but it also was explained that the killer will go after anybody, which I think is important because when you see him go after people that wasn't actually in love or in a couple, you're like, well, why are they being targeted? I actually wish the killer could have been conflicted in terms of its victims, where the killer could say, couples absolutely on my list, singles you get a pass. I think there was comedy right there in their hands to use that they didn't. And then there's this there's so much satire in this. Like, the film definitely takes moments to never take itself serious. Like, I am such I'm just so not a fan of Heroes Complex. And there's this moment where the Heroes Complex decision is at an all-time high, and I almost lost it. But considering the nature of the film and all the satire, that I was like, this, in fact, was the right decision to make. I thought the twist was somewhat predictable, but also somewhat good. So I did not mind it at all. But I overall, I think at the very basic principle of what you should get from this review is that the film is just completely fun. You're going to have laughs. You're going to have jump scares. The sound mixing is really good, so you're definitely going to have spine chills and the hairs on your arms sort of raised up. There's a particular scene where a knife is scraping across a desk, and that screechy noise will definitely have you on high alert and possibly cringing. So like, I thought they did a really good job in utilizing, sound to really heighten the horror in particular moments. And then again, jump scares, all the traditional stuff you get with slashers and whatnot. But then it was just really about the comedy. It was really about these characters working off of each other, these performances from these actors. I don't know if you go as far as saying improv, but if it was, again, I go back to Josh as directing in terms of allowing these folks to like the room to do what they do. But like, knowing Josh humor from previous projects, I mean, this reeks his DNA. Scare Me and Werewolves Within are two films you must watch if you have not of his. But I mean, even when you look at like some of his like craziest performances, because I don't think anyone does Unhinged better than Josh, you really see just how much range he has. And he takes that same sort of like skill and talent and puts it into his directing. And that's what you get with this, because this film has a lot of range of craziness that goes on here. Like, you're going to get a little bit of everything. But yeah, from Olivia, from Mason, from Devon, from Jordana, I mean, like, I don't know what it is. I'm such a Fast and Furious fan that, like, really seeing her in anything outside of Fast and Furious, I'm just like, wow, she's so good. Like, Fast and Furious, I love the character, but I'm just like, I'm so used to seeing her do that. Sometimes I think that's all she can do. So seeing her in other capacities, especially in a horror, you're like, whoa, like, and I got to tell you, that third act, ooh-wee. She's super special in that, shall I say. So I enjoyed this film. I think that this film is definitely what I would want to go to the theaters to see for Valentine's Day. And I also think that for our horror fans, you know, coming from Wolfman, coming from a couple of other films this year. I think this is one you put on your list because I think it's going to be a bloody good time this year in terms of the horror films. And this is another one that you definitely want to check out. Another win in the Josh Rubin win column, I would say. And you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. But go in there. Go in there and have a good time. Don't go in there looking for your traditional slasher and they're just going around killing people senseless. Go in there looking for a lot of fun. You're going to see some, you know, mistakes in terms of decisions characters make and whatnot because it's just so much fun. It's the satire. You got to remember that at all times. Remember that at all times. But yeah, check it out. Hard Eyes, folks. February 7th. In theaters. Jump in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about this one when you do. And always stick around for more reviews and content very soon. Thank you for watching, folks.